Hey, you guys. Nikki Ganjemi here, and this is Transform Your Business Thursday. Welcome, and thank you for being here. If you're on the live, say hi, and if you're on the replay, hashtag replay. So today I wanted to talk about resistance. Do you find that you might be feeling a little bit of a block or a little bit of resistance where it could show up as maybe just kind of feeling frustrated, or maybe like nothing is really working the way you want it to, or maybe you're not getting the traction that you want, or you're working really hard and you're just kind of staying in the same place and getting the same results. So if this sounds like you, I want to talk about resistance and how if we could embrace this resistance, if we could just kind of lean into it a little bit and get a little bit curious, how it could be a real game changer and totally transform not only your business but your life. I talk a lot about business, but everything I talk about can be used for your life. Hey Lawrence, thanks for being on. Happy you're here. Can't wait. Yes, me too, because this is something I've been thinking about and I had an epiphany and I wanted to share it all with all of you. So for those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Nikki Ganjemi and I help online coaches shift their identity to thriving entrepreneurs so they can make more money and impact doing what they love. And a part of today's talk, and with leaning into the resistance, with embracing it, is really just paying attention to how you feel, because I think sometimes some of us forget that we have this internal guidance system, right, that Abraham Hicks talks about, and it's called our emotions. And we spend so much of our days and our weeks and our months and our lives just not wanting to feel and just kind of continuing on, and we overlook like the clues, the answers. And we also look outside of ourselves so much. We think a program has the answer, a course has the answer, somebody else has the answer. But I've got to tell you that though we might need guidance, and I believe we all do, I want to say that a lot of your answers are already inside of you. And if you just go quiet and ask yourself how you're feeling and then get curious, you can stumble upon the thing that you've been waiting for that opens you up to everything that you wanted. So I want to say, as much as we hate resistance because it doesn't feel good, right? The resistance feels horrible. I know I don't like when I feel resistance. I want to really just take a little bit of time here to, if you can, when you notice that, like first you've got to be aware of it, right? The next thing is to say thanks. Hey Jill, thanks for being on. Hi. So yeah, we want to get curious and then we want to be thankful for it, because it's like there's a lesson, right? There can be a gift in the resistance. I think it was Lisa Nichols that said that sometimes our greatest gifts are wrapped in sandpaper. And I really believe that, because I think as much as the negative stuff that happens to us in our life or in our business, if we're willing to just sit with it for a little bit and embrace it, I really feel that there is lots of things to be learned, and then there's transformation on the other side. So I'm going to give you a little example with a colleague of mine. She also has her own business. She's actually a mindset and a business strategist, and we were chatting and catching up, and she was saying, Nikki, I strayed from what I want and myself, and I listened to somebody else, and I was following what I was told to follow, and I kept ignoring all the resistance that I kept feeling, and I was just pushing on. I was putting in the hours, I was putting in the time. This is what she's telling me, I went from making $100,000 in my business to making nothing. And I couldn't figure out why, because I was doing all the right things. I was following the frameworks, I was following the steps, but I overlooked one important thing. I didn't stop and ask how I was feeling. I knew I felt like crap, but I ignored it. and I kept doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. But things really changed for her. There was a huge transformation when she honored how she felt. And she said, you know what, despite what I'm being told to do, and despite what everybody else is doing, I'm doing what I want. I'm doing what feels good to me. And within a couple of weeks, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, she made $7,000. She signed 2 clients. She made $7,000 in just a matter of a couple of weeks. And she has a Facebook group, and that group was just stagnant. The numbers were just kind of staying where they were. And within a couple of days, she got 43 members just out of nowhere and without the effort. And that's the thing. It's like when you relax and when you open up and when you honor you, when you say to yourself, I know Jill and Lawrence are on, when Jill says, Jill, what does Jill want? When Lawrence says, what does Lawrence want? I've been saying to myself, Nikki, what does Nikki want? And then just being quiet. Not filling our mind, not going to check your phone and look at your emails and, whatever it is that we do, that we stay busy all the time, but just sitting there. And you will be surprised at what comes up. Now, interestingly enough, I was with my friend Jill, who's on, and we were going to what we thought was a business networking meeting last night. So we go to this meetup and we bring our business cards, we're expecting to network. We sit down, and all of a sudden, the leader of the group starts talking and telling us a story about losing her husband and losing her parents and losing her first child. And it took a matter of seconds before we realized this was a grief group. This was a group to talk about grief. And immediately I thought, I'm in the wrong place. I thought I was here for networking, and I felt some resistance, but I was stuck in a chair sitting in a circle. And so I thought, you know what? Let me just sit with this. Let me just listen. And I listened to her. And as I was listening to her, I think it might have been 3 minutes into her story that I got so triggered. And I was sitting there and I was fighting back the tears. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? Why am I getting so upset? I don't have grief. Sure, we've all lost people. If you've been on this planet for, decades, I'm sure you've all lost somebody. But I thought that was all good. And I didn't feel like I belonged there with these other people who were, it was so fresh for them. But I paid attention to my body because there were all kinds of emotions going on. And I was like really fighting back the tears. And I was like, you know what? I'm here for a reason, because I believe that there are no accidents. And it's like, how funny that we meet people and it's like, follow the breadcrumb trail. I never would have went to that group. And then I wouldn't have gotten a chance to heal what I didn't think was there. But that's the thing. We all have stuff, emotional baggage that's beneath the surface, but we're always on the go, right? And we always want to do the next thing to make money or move forward or whatever it is, but we don't pay attention to these feelings, these emotions that we have. But the great thing is that if you can, and you can just sit there and you can embrace it, like let yourself feel it. Eventually I just let the tears come down my face, and that's where the healing is, because you're no longer stuffing it, right? You're letting it move, which it needs to, and then you're clearing out that space, like energetically, that space, so to speak, that is being taken up. And then you now have space for more of what you do want. So there really is something to this resistance, and I really invite all of you to get quiet and just to feel your way. Do you remember, and is this making sense, you guys? Just let me know, because I know I might be hopping all over the place, but I'm really excited about this topic, so I'm just like, bing, 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 bing. But do you remember playing the game Marco Polo? I remember when I was a kid and we'd be in the pool and like somebody, I don't know who it was, Marco Polo, but you go in the center of the pool, you close your eyes, and then you're like, Marco, and then you hear the person going, Polo, and you just listen. You listen for the voice and you're determining which direction is that coming from, and you're kind of following the voice, and it's like Marco Polo. It's like the Marco is the asking. So ask. when you're feeling resistant and you're not sure what's your next step in your life or in business or anything, what's the next step? Just ask. Just like when you say Marco when you're playing the game, you're asking. And then listen. And that's when the person says Polo, you're listening. Where's that coming from? And you're just following, and that was, it makes me think of that. But when you're quiet and you pay attention to how you feel, you kind of know, like, you're led in which direction that you should go. And I have to say, lately I've been following what feels good, and I've been listening a lot, and it's opened me up to a whole nother world that I didn't know was there. I was doing everything just online. Everything is on Facebook and it's online. And then I had this like divine download. I was inspired to just look at the Meetup app. And I was resistant to that. If I go back to over the summer, I had a couple of people saying, oh, why don't you go into the local arena too? And I was like, no. And I noticed the resistance. I didn't embrace it. I didn't. But once I embraced the resistance, once my colleague that I was talking about that was off course and she wasn't making any money, once she embraced her resistance and then got quiet and listened and then followed what felt good and right to her, her business changed. Money just came in. And for me, I met people that I otherwise would not have met and formed instant relationships. And now working in a different capacity. So that's what's available to everybody when you embrace the resistance, when you get curious, when you listen, when you start to trust yourself. And I know trust is something that is sometimes a little challenging for a lot of us, but you always know how you feel. And if something feels good, if something feels exciting, if it just intrigues you in any way, then trust that that's a path to take a look at, right? And try it on. And the other way too, if you're feeling like maybe it doesn't light you up, or it doesn't feel good, then maybe it's time to just ask, what's the next right step? Or whatever your question is, and then just listen and just wait and be open for an answer, because the answer always comes, and it's usually something inside, and it usually resonates with a feeling. But another thing I want to say, and this was brought up last night at the grief group too that I was in, it ended up being a great thing, and I was still able to give out my business card, so I was supported. But she was talking, the leader of the group was talking about like a tapestry, right? And you have the tapestry, and behind the tapestry, all the threads are held together with all these little knots. And it's like when we're resistant to something, that we don't like what's going on right now, maybe you're not making the money you want, or you're still in your job and you're not being, in your business, or you're in transition and you don't know what your next step is. We want to honor that, because like behind the tapestry, if you were to remove any one of those knots, say, you know what, I don't want this in my life right now, I'm going to remove this knot, everything comes unraveled, right? Everything comes unraveled. So when we can appreciate everything in our life and know that everything is there for a reason, everything is there for a reason. And everything is there to support you. And when we can embrace that, when we can accept it, when we can give it gratitude, I believe that we're always supported. And things always work out in your best interest and for your higher good. So any questions, let me know. That is my message for today. It was something that came up and I felt inspired to share it. But I really like this idea of embracing the resistance, because for so long it's like, no, I don't want to feel that. I'm gonna have a glass of wine. I'm gonna, turn on the music and I'm gonna ignore. No, because you get to where you want to be a lot faster when you pay attention. Imagine if my friend who made $7,000 in a matter of a couple of weeks, imagine if she followed what she wanted to do a year ago when she started working with this mentor that kind of moved her away from her passion. Like, that's how powerful it is. We could take all the action in the world that we want. We could work really hard. And if we're out of alignment, we're not going to get the results that we want. No matter how many courses we buy, no matter how many hours we spend behind a laptop. But you get what you want much faster when you are true to you. Seriously. Yes, Lawrence is saying, let's embrace it. It's our souls screaming out loud that something wrong and misaligned. Totally. I mean, it's unbelievable. Even embracing this whole concept of me going local, you know? I literally went to 2 meetings, and in less than a week, I met somebody who wants to partner up, and we already booked a workshop that we have on the calendar. I actually posted it as an event for November 26th. We're doing Stress Less during the holiday season. And it was like in hours. We had the flyer, we started promoting it, and it was just like that. And when you are aligned, things happen quickly and easily. But it starts with paying attention to how you feel and getting curious and being really willing to sit with the discomfort for just a little bit and knowing full well that on the other side, I mean, it's just everything you want and more. And more. So thanks for tuning in today, you guys. Thanks for listening and sharing your takeaways. Continue to share them. We'll continue the conversation, and I hope that you have an awesome Thursday and a fabulous weekend. I'm really excited, actually, because my sister is getting married tomorrow, so I'm going to be a little away from social media for a couple of days, but really excited about that. So have fun, do you, spend a little time being quiet and going within and honoring how you feel and following what feels good. So thanks so much, you guys. I will see you next week. Bye for now.